6 months after the Battle of Earth, the galaxy was a very different place. The Galactic Council chamber on Nexus Prime had been rebuilt, expanded and restructured around a simple truth that no one could deny anymore. Humanity wasn't just another member species. They were the guardians who had been watching over galactic civilization from the shadows for 50 years. Admiral Park Subin stood before the assembled representatives of 800 worlds, wearing the uniform that had been hidden for half a century. No longer did she pretend to be anything other than what she was, Supreme Fleet Commander of the most advanced military force in known space. "The threat is not over," she announced to the silent chamber. "Our sensors detect massive formations approaching from the Devourer home galaxy. What we faced before was just their scouting force." President Cho Min-sung stepped forward from Earth's delegation. Unlike Ambassador Choi's old nervous act, Cho radiated the quiet confidence of a leader who knew exactly what his species was capable of. "However," Cho continued, "humanity does not intend to face this threat alone. We propose the formation of a true galactic defense alliance, with shared technology and unified command structure." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Every delegate in the chamber stood to voice their agreement. The species that had once dismissed humans as primitive cargo haulers now competed to ally themselves with Earth's protection. Captain Kim Hyejin smiled as she watched the proceedings from her ship in orbit. Her vessel, the exploration cruiser New Dawn, represented everything the galaxy was becoming. Human technology merged with alien innovation, crewed by beings from dozens of worlds working together. "Captain, we're receiving the final crew assignments," reported her first officer, a Kellian engineer named Vexa High who had become one of humanity's strongest supporters after seeing their technology in action. "Excellent," Kim replied. "How many species are we up to now?" 47 different worlds represented in our crew of 800, answered Lieutenant Yoon Seungwon, a human officer who coordinated the mixed species teams. "The integration training is going better than expected." Indeed it was. The galaxy had learned that humans possessed something even more valuable than advanced technology, the ability to bring different species together toward common goals. Ambassador Choi Hyunwoo had transformed from nervous diplomat to coordinator of the new alliance. His years of careful observation and recording had given him unmatched knowledge of every species' capabilities and needs. "The Vorthak are contributing their manufacturing capacity," he reported to Admiral Park during their daily briefing. "The Kellian are sharing their computational resources. The Ashanti have opened their archives for the first time in millennia." "What about the smaller worlds?" Park asked. "They're providing something just as valuable: enthusiasm and fresh perspectives. Some of our best innovations are coming from species we barely noticed before." This was humanity's true gift to the galaxy. They had spent 50 years learning not just about alien technology, but about alien cultures, dreams, and potential. Now they used that knowledge to build something greater than any single species could. Chief General Lee Sang-min coordinated the new galactic defense strategy from his headquarters on Luna. The moon base had been disguised as a mining operation for decades, but now revealed itself as the coordination center for the largest military buildup in galactic history. "Training progress?" Admiral Park asked during her inspection. "Excellent, Admiral. Alien crews are adapting to our tactical doctrine faster than projected. The Kellian in particular show natural aptitude for precision combat." Lee gestured to a holographic display showing mixed crews training on human simulators. "The Vorthak are struggling with our emphasis on subtlety, but their aggression makes them excellent assault troops when properly directed." "And the technology transfer?" Dr. Kim's teams are making remarkable progress. Alien engineers are beginning to understand our fundamental principles. Within a year, they'll be improving on our designs. Dr. Kim Ji-won had become the galaxy's most important figure after Admiral Park. Her quantum phase technology was being adapted for civilian use, promising to revolutionize everything from medicine to transportation. "The defensive network is taking shape," she reported from her new laboratory on Mars. "Every major system will have dimensional defense screens within 2 years. The Devourer's main advantage, their overwhelming firepower, will be negated." But humanity's greatest contribution wasn't technology. It was the revelation of the Shepherd Protocol, President Cho addressed the galaxy during a broadcast that reached every inhabited world. For 50 years, humanity has been quietly guiding galactic development. Not ruling, not controlling, but gently encouraging cooperation over conflict. Examples emerged daily. Human cargo captains had secretly prevented wars by ensuring crucial supplies reached desperate populations. Human workers had sabotaged weapons development that would have led to genocidal conflicts. Human diplomats had guided peace negotiations while appearing to be minor participants. We were gardeners, Cho explained, tending a garden of civilizations, helping them grow toward their potential while remaining hidden among them. The galaxy's response was a mixture of amazement and gratitude. Species that had been enemies for centuries found themselves working together under human coordination, discovering that their conflicts had often been based on misunderstandings that humans had been quietly trying to resolve. Captain Song Kyung-min led the first integrated patrol of the Galactic Rim aboard. His heavy cruiser unified Dawn. His crew included representatives from 23 different worlds, all working together to establish the new defense perimeter. Contact bearing 047, reported his Ashanti sensor operator. Unknown configuration approaching from extragalactic space. Defensive positions, Song ordered. All ships report status. Around him, a fleet of mixed vessels took formation. Human dreadnoughts worked alongside Vorthak battleships equipped with human weapons. Kellyan cruisers used quantum phase stealth while Ashanti vessels provided long-range sensor coverage. The approaching ship was revealed to be a Devourer probe, but this one was different. Instead of the mindless aggression they had faced before, it transmitted a message. "We acknowledge the strength of this galaxy's defenders," came the alien communication. "We request negotiation for peaceful passage through your space." For the first time in their species' history, the Devourers were offering to talk instead of simply consuming. Captain Song smiled as he composed his response. "This is Captain Song Kyung-min of the Galactic Defense Alliance. We're willing to discuss terms, but understand this. This galaxy is under our protection now." The message that went back to the Devourer home galaxy was clear. The scattered civilizations they had expected to consume had become unified under the guidance of a species that combined advanced technology with strategic patience. Back on Earth, Admiral Park stood in her command center and watched reports flow in from across the galaxy. The transformation was remarkable. Species that had been at each other's throats for millennia were now working together to face the coming threat. "Admiral, final production reports," announced Colonel Bang Yujin. "The new integrated fleet will number over 50,000 vessels within 3 years, all equipped with hybrid human-alien technology. And our special projects?" Dr. Kim looked up from her workstation with a satisfied expression. "The Galaxy Defense Grid will be operational in 18 months. Quantum phase defensive screens covering every inhabited system, linked together in a network that can coordinate responses across the entire galaxy." Park nodded and turned to the massive display showing their preparations. Humanity had revealed itself as the galaxy's secret guardians, but they had no intention of ruling from the shadows anymore. "Signal all Alliance forces," she ordered. "Begin Operation New Dawn. It's time to take the defense to the enemy." Captain Kim Hyejin received the signal aboard her exploration ship as it patrolled the galactic edge. Around her, crews from dozens of worlds worked together with an efficiency that amazed observers. "You heard the Admiral," she announced to her mixed crew. "We're no longer just defending our galaxy. We're going to make sure threats like the Devourers never catch any civilization unprepared again." Her ship and hundreds like it began moving beyond the galactic rim, carrying the message that would reshape the relationship between galaxies forever. The species that had hidden among cargo ships and mining stations for 50 years were now leading an alliance that spanned the known galaxy. They had taught 800 different civilizations that cooperation was stronger than conflict, that patience was more powerful than aggression. As the new dawn crossed into the void between galaxies, Captain Kim looked at her diverse crew and thought about the journey that had brought them here. Humanity had started as the galaxy's secret gardeners. Now they were its acknowledged protectors. But more than that, they had become teachers. Every species in the Alliance had learned the most important lesson humans could share. True strength came not from dominating others, but from helping them become their best selves. The Devourers would return eventually, bringing forces that dwarfed their scouts. But they would find a galaxy that was no longer divided, No longer weak and no longer unprepared, the Devourer main swarm filled space from Mercury's orbit to beyond Pluto. Thousands of biotitans moved in perfect formation toward Earth, their combined mass larger than most planets. They had consumed entire galaxies before arriving here, and nothing had ever stopped them. They were about to discover that nothing had ever been quite like humanity. Fleet Admiral Park Subban stood in Earth's primary command center, buried 5 kilometers beneath the Mariana Trench. Around her, hundreds of officers coordinated the defense of not just their world, but their entire species' secret. "Final count on the enemy fleet?" she asked. Colonel Kim Ji-won looked up from her displays with grim eyes. 4,700 biotitans, Admiral. Each one larger than our biggest dreadnoughts. Support swarm numbering in the hundreds of thousands. And our forces? 24 dreadnoughts including Sol Eternal, 60 heavy cruisers and 190 destroyers. Plus the planetary defense grid. The numbers seemed impossible. Earth's fleet was outnumbered nearly 20-1 by creatures that had destroyed every conventional force sent against them. But Park smiled as she looked at the tactical display. "Signal Captain Moon. Tell him it's time to reveal Sol Eternal." In orbit above Earth's North Pole, space itself seemed to tear open, as the largest ship humanity had ever built dropped its stealth field. The super dreadnought Sol Eternal was 4 kilometers long and bristled with weapons that existed only in theoretical papers until now. Captain Moon Woo-jin had commanded cargo ships for 30 years, all while secretly overseeing the construction of this monster. Today he finally got to show what human engineering could achieve when given unlimited resources and decades to work. "All stations report ready, Captain," announced his first officer, Commander Song Hee-jin. "The Sol Star cannon is charging to full power." Moon nodded as he studied the approaching swarm. "Signal the fleet. All ships are to follow Tactic Omega-7. We show them everything today." Around the Sol system, the true scope of humanity's deception became clear. The asteroid belt revealed itself to be a massive weapons platform, with every significant rock-hiding defensive systems. Jupiter's moons opened to show naval yards where dozens of ships had been secretly built. Most shocking of all, Earth itself began to change. Dr. Kim Ji-won activated systems that had been 50 years in the making. Mountain ranges across the planet split open to reveal weapons emplacements that could target ships in deep space. Ocean floors lifted as hidden platforms rose to the surface, each one armed with technology that made alien battleships look primitive. "Planetary defense grid online," she reported. All orbital platforms revealed and operational. The watching galaxy could barely comprehend what they were seeing. Earth wasn't just defended, it was a fortress that had been disguised as a simple world for decades. Captain Lee Jin-soo coordinated the global defense network from his hidden base beneath Antarctica. For 40 years, this facility had appeared to be a research station studying ice core samples. In reality, it was the nerve center for planetary weapons that could crack moons. "Sir, the Devourers are entering our outer perimeter," reported Major Park Soo-jin. "Range 1 million kilometers and closing." "All stations acknowledge," Lee replied. "Begin Operation Thunderbreak." The first indication the Devourers had that something was wrong came when space around them began exploding. Hidden mines throughout the outer system activated, each one carrying enough plasma fusion explosive to vaporize a city. But these weren't random explosions. Human tacticians had spent decades studying Devourer movement patterns from their previous invasions. Every mine was positioned exactly where the bioships would be when they detonated. The alien swarm staggered as hundreds of their advanced ships were destroyed in the opening seconds. But they adapted quickly, as they always did, changing formation to minimize casualties. They had no way to adapt to what came next. Captain Moon's super dreadnought Sol Eternal fired its main weapon for the first time in combat. The Sol Star cannon drew energy directly from Earth's sun, focusing stellar power into a beam that could punch through planets. The massive weapon fired a stream of concentrated solar plasma that struck the center of the Devourer formation. Biotitans that had survived the destruction of entire civilizations simply ceased to exist as stellar fire washed over them. "Direct hit," reported Commander Song. "Estimate 200 enemy ships destroyed in the initial strike." But the Devourers were learning. Their bioships began spreading out, making concentrated fire less effective. They returned fire with weapons that had cracked worlds, streams of corrosive energy that could dissolve continents. Earth's dimensional defense screens activated on a planetary scale. The alien weapons passed harmlessly through the planet's surface as if it existed in a different reality, which, thanks to Dr. Kim's quantum phase technology, it temporarily did. Colonel Bang. Yujin led the ground-based defense forces from her command post in the Swiss Alps. Her geological survey team had spent decades preparing for this moment. All surface batteries. Commence firing, she ordered. Across Earth's surface, weapons emplacements that had been hidden in mountains, forests, and ocean floors opened fire. Plasma fusion beams reached into space with precision that amazed. Even human engineers, the alien bioships, had never faced planetary defense systems that could target individual ships at interplanetary distances. Human weapons picked off support, organisms, and damaged biotitans with surgical accuracy. But the real surprise came when the Devourers tried to land ground forces on Earth's surface. The bioships launched thousands of smaller creatures designed to consume everything on a planet's surface. These organisms had stripped entire worlds bare in previous invasions. They had never encountered a planet where every civilian was secretly a trained soldier. The landing creatures found humans waiting for them with weapons that shouldn't exist and training that turned ordinary people into elite fighters. Shop owners used plasma rifles that could penetrate bioarmor. Farmers deployed defensive systems that had been disguised as irrigation equipment. Ground forces report contact at multiple sites. Bang reported to Admiral Park. Enemy casualties are severe. Our losses are minimal. In space, the battle reached its climax as human dreadnoughts engaged the largest biotitans directly. Captain Huang's Incheon Thunder led a formation of 6 ships against a creature the size of a small moon. All ships concentrate fire on the primary neural cluster, Huang ordered. Cut off its command abilities. Human weapons carved through bioarmor that had resisted every other attack in galactic history. The combination of plasma fusion technology and dimensional targeting allowed them to strike at organs inside the creatures without having to penetrate their outer defenses. The massive biotitan writhed in agony as human weapons systematically shut down its vital functions. Around it, smaller devourer ships tried to protect their dying leader, but human tactics made conventional defense impossible. Captain Zhang Sohe's stealth destroyers appeared and disappeared like ghosts, striking at critical moments before vanishing back into dimensional phase space. The Devourers couldn't fight enemies they couldn't see or predict. As the battle raged, Admiral Park received reports that changed everything. Admiral, long-range sensors are detecting massive movement beyond the galactic rim, reported Lieutenant Colonel Jung Min-jae. Something much larger than this fleet is approaching. Park studied the sensor readings and felt cold dread in her stomach. Size estimate? Unknown, ma'am, but the energy signature suggests ships that dwarf even these biotitans. This wasn't their main invasion force. This was just the advanced scouts. Around the command center, officers absorbed this information with growing alarm. They were winning the current battle, but it was only the beginning. Ma'am, called another officer. The dying bioships are transmitting massive data bursts toward deep space. They're sending detailed information about our capabilities to something out there. Park made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Signal all ships. Authorization code Omega Black. Full revelation protocols. Throughout the Sol system, the last of humanity's secrets revealed themselves. Ships that had been thought impossible emerged from hidden bases. Weapons that existed only in theoretical papers activated for the first time. The Devourers found themselves fighting not just Earth's revealed fleet, but technology that seemed to violate the laws of physics. As the last biotitan died in Earth's defensive fire, Admiral Park looked at the tactical display showing the approaching threat from beyond the galaxy. Send a message to the Galactic Council, she ordered. Tell them the real war is about to begin and humanity is ready to protect everyone who stands with us. The galaxy had seen what humans could do when they stopped hiding. Now they would learn what humanity could accomplish when they stopped holding back. In the depths of space, signals raced toward an approaching darkness that made the defeated swarm look like a minor scouting force. The real Devourers had received the data about Earth's defenses. They were coming, and they were bringing the tools to end worlds that thought themselves safe. But they had made one critical error. They assumed that what they had faced was humanity's full capability. They had no idea that Earth's most devastating weapons hadn't even been activated yet. The Kepler 442 system had been evacuated for 3 days when the Devourers arrived. What they found waiting for them changed the course of the war. Captain Huang Tejun stood on the bridge of the Dreadnought Incheon Thunder and watched 3 massive bioships enter the system. Each creature was larger than Earth's moon, their organic hulls pulsing with alien life. They moved with the confidence of predators who had never met serious resistance. "Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, reported his tactical officer, Commander Lee Jae-wook. "Range, 400,000 kilometers and closing." "Signal the Gwangju Lightning," Huang ordered. "Tell Captain Zhang to begin her approach." In the empty space between the planets, what appeared to be nothing at all was actually Captain Zhang Sohee's stealth destroyer. Her ship existed in a dimensional phase that made it completely invisible to all known sensors. The Devourers had no idea she was there. "Lightning acknowledges," reported the communications officer. "She's moving into position." Huang studied the approaching biotitans. Human intelligence had analyzed the wreckage from previous battles, but this would be their first real test against living Devourer ships. "Weapon status?" he asked. "All plasma fusion batteries charged and ready," replied Commander An So-young from the weapons station. "Quantum torpedoes loaded in all tubes." "Very good. Remember, we're not just fighting for humanity today. We're fighting for every species in this galaxy." The lead Devourer bioship noticed the human dreadnought and changed course toward it. Huang could see organic weapons ports opening along its massive hull, revealing teeth-like structures that glowed with internal energy. "Admiral Shin." "This is Thunder," Huang reported to his fleet commander. "Beginning engagement." "Understood, Captain. All ships are watching. Show them what we can do." The Biotitan fired first, launching streams of corrosive plasma that had dissolved Vorthak warships in seconds. The attack struck the Incheon Thunder directly, covering its hull in acid that should have eaten through any known armor. Instead, the ship's dimensional defense screens activated. The corrosive plasma simply passed through the hull as if the ship existed in a different reality, which in a sense it did. "No damage," reported the engineering station. "Defense screens holding at full strength." Huang smiled grimly. "Return fire." All forward batteries. The human dreadnought unleashed weapons that the galaxy had never seen before. Plasma fusion beams struck the Biotitan with energies that burned hotter than stellar cores. Unlike the scattered shots of conventional weapons, human fire was precise and concentrated. The bioship's living armor began to crack and burn. For the first time in its species' history, a Devourer creature felt real pain. "Target's regeneration systems are failing," reported Lee Jae-wook. "Hull breach detected in sections 4 through 7. "Lightning, you're clear for attack run," Huang ordered. Captain Zhang Sohee's destroyer materialized directly beneath the wounded Biotitan, emerging from dimensional phase space at point-blank range. Her ship was smaller than the Dreadnought, but what it lacked in size it made up for in speed and precision. "All batteries. Concentrated fire on the primary brain cluster," Zhang ordered. Her weapons were different from the Dreadnought's massive guns. The stealth destroyer carried focused energy lances designed for surgical strikes. Each beam cut through the bioship's hull like it was paper, seeking vital organs. The Biotitan convulsed as human weapons found their mark. Its massive form began to lose cohesion as critical systems failed. Within minutes, the creature that had terrorized entire star systems was dying. "First target neutralized," Zhang reported, moving to attack position on the second bioship. The remaining 2 Devourers had never encountered tactics like these. They had evolved to fight conventional fleets that met them head-on with massed firepower. Humans used precision, stealth, and technology that seemed impossible. Commander Ryu Hayoung led Strike Wing Alpha from her advanced fighter craft. To alien observers, the human fighters moved too fast and maneuvered in ways that should have killed their pilots. What they didn't understand was that human pilots used neural interfaces that let them react at superhuman speeds. "Alpha Wing, target the support organisms," Ryu ordered her pilots. "Cut them off from the main bioships." The Devourers relied on smaller creatures that provided power and nutrients to their titans. These support organisms had never been targeted before because no one had possessed weapons precise enough to distinguish them from the main ships. Human fighters did. Ryu's pilots swept, through the alien formation like deadly ghosts, their weapons picking off support creatures with surgical accuracy. Each loss weakened the Bio-Titans, making them vulnerable to the capital ship's heavy weapons. Support network at 60% and falling, reported Lieutenant Kim Jinwoo from his fighter. They're starting to panic, indeed they were. The Bio-Titans had begun random maneuvers trying to escape an enemy they couldn't properly see or understand. Their movements became desperate as human weapons systematically destroyed their ability to function. Admiral Shin Bongjun watched the battle from his command ship and felt pride swell in his chest. For 40 years he had pretended to be a harmless cargo captain, while aliens insulted and dismissed his species. Today they learned why that had been a mistake. Admiral, message from Earth, reported his communications officer. Admiral Park wants battle analysis in real time. Tell her the new tactics are working perfectly, Shin replied. The Devourers have no defense against precision strikes. They're designed to fight massive fleet actions, not surgical attacks. On Earth, Admiral Park Subin watched the battle recordings with intense focus. Every detail would be crucial for what was coming next. Analysis, Dr. Kim? She asked. Dr. Kim Ji-won pulled up tactical displays. The bioships regenerate damage, but only if their support network remains intact. Our precision weapons can disrupt that network faster than they can adapt. What about their weapons? Powerful, but designed for area effect damage. Against our dimensional defense screens, they're almost useless. They can't hit what exists in a different phase of reality. The battle in the Kepler 442 system ended with the destruction of all 3 Bio-Titans. Human casualties, 0. Ship damage, minimal. For the first time since entering this galaxy, a Devourer force had been completely annihilated. But the victory carried a price that no one yet understood. The dying bioships had transmitted detailed information about human capabilities back to the main swarm. The Devourers now knew they faced an enemy unlike anything they had encountered before. Captain Huang stood on his bridge and looked at the debris field that had once been 3 seemingly unstoppable monsters. Around him, his crew was celebrating their first open victory after decades of hiding. Sir, reported his sensor officer, we're detecting movement from the galactic rim, massive energy signatures heading toward the core systems. Huang's celebration ended abruptly. Size of the formation? Unknown, sir. But it's big. Much bigger than what we just fought. Signal Admiral Shin. Tell him we need to return to Earth immediately. As the human fleet prepared to leave the system, they were unaware that their victory had been observed by hidden sensors throughout the region. Alien commanders who had spent decades dismissing human capabilities now watched the recordings with growing amazement and fear. The Kellion Syndicate's military analysts worked frantically to understand how human weapons functioned. Their most advanced computers couldn't explain the technology they had witnessed. Their energy output readings are impossible, reported Chief Analyst Vex Mori. No known power source can generate that much focused energy. The Vorthak response was more direct. These humans have made fools of us all, growled War Leader Kexton. How many of our raids were they secretly recording? How much do they know about our capabilities? The Ashanti Collective's reaction was the most disturbing. The ancient beings who had ruled portions of the galaxy for millennia went into complete isolation, refusing all communication with other species. They remembered legends from their oldest archives about a species that hid among other civilizations, watching and learning until the time came to reveal themselves. They had assumed those legends were myths. Now they wondered what else the humans had been hiding. In the depths of space, the main Devourer swarm received the transmitted data about their first real defeat. The bioships that led their species began adapting their strategies, preparing for an enemy that fought unlike anything they had faced. But they made one crucial error in their analysis. They assumed the ships they had encountered represented humanity's full military capability. They had no idea that what they had fought was just a small scouting force, and that Earth's real fleet was still hidden, waiting for the proper moment to strike. The galaxy had seen human thunder and lightning. Soon they would witness the full storm. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had lasted for 18 hours. Around the Great Chamber, delegates from hundreds of worlds argued, pleaded, and despaired as the Devourer advance forces consumed system after system. We need more ships, shouted the Vorthak representative. Every world must contribute their full military. With what? Replied the Kellion delegate bitterly. Half our fleets are destroyed or scattered. The others are protecting refugee convoys. Ambassador Choi Hyunwoo stood slowly from Earth's small section. The chamber fell silent as all eyes turned to the human representative. For 50 years, Earth had been seen as the weakest member of the Council. Honored Council, Choi began, his voice carrying none of its usual nervous tremor. Earth has received your request for military assistance. The Ashanti representative made a sound that might have been laughter. Earth has no military to speak of. What can your cargo ships do against the Devourers? Choi looked directly at the ancient being. You asked us to send everything we have. He paused and touched a control on his communicator. Request acknowledged. Fleet deployment authorized. For a moment, nothing happened. Then every communication device in the chamber activated at once. This is Fleet Admiral Ko Donghae of the Terran Defense Fleet, came a voice that radiated quiet authority. All units, drop stealth protocols. Show them who we are. The chamber erupted in confusion as delegates tried to understand what they were hearing. Then the main viewing screen activated, showing the space around Earth's solar system. Where there had been empty space moments before, massive shapes began to appear. Ship after ship materialized as their quantum phase stealth systems deactivated, but these weren't the simple cargo vessels the galaxy knew. Impossible, whispered the Kellyan delegate. The first ship to fully reveal itself was 2 kilometers long, bristling with weapons that looked like nothing in any galactic database. Its hull bore the name Soul's Vengeance in both human writing and universal script. Captain Lim Jae-hyuk stood on the bridge of his dreadnought and smiled. For 30 years he had commanded what the galaxy thought was a simple mining vessel. Today he commanded the most powerful warship in known space. All stations report ready, Captain, announced his weapons officer, Lieutenant Commander An So-young. Very good, Lim replied. Signal the fleet. Let them see what Earth really built. Around the Sol system, 11 more massive ships revealed themselves. Each dreadnought was a masterpiece of human engineering, combining stealth technology, advanced weapons, and defensive systems that surpassed anything the galaxy had imagined possible. In the council chamber, pandemonium reigned. Delegates shouted questions, accusations, and demands while Ambassador Choi watched calmly. How long? Asked the Kellyan representative, his voice barely controlled. How long have you been hiding this? 50 years, Choi replied simply. Since Earth joined the council, the Vorthak delegate rose angrily. You deceived us. You lied about your capabilities. We never lied, Choi corrected. You never asked the right questions. You saw what you expected to see. Weak humans with simple technology. Fleet Admiral Ko's voice continued over the communication system. Terran Defense Fleet consists of 12 Dreadnought-class vessels, 48 heavy cruisers, and 196 destroyers. All ships are equipped with quantum phase stealth, plasma fusion weaponry, and dimensional defense screens. The numbers meant nothing to most of the delegates, but the few military experts in the chamber understood. Earth hadn't just been hiding a few ships. They had built a fleet that could challenge the combined might of every other galactic power. On the bridge of the dreadnought Busan Rising, Captain Bae Minji received new orders from Admiral Park Subin. Minji, take your ship to the Centauri sector. The Devourers have 3 bio-titans moving toward the colonies there. Understood, Admiral, Bae replied. Finally get to show these monsters what human weapons can do. Her ship had been disguised as a cargo hauler for 25 years. During that time, Bae had watched alien pirates attack human vessels, seen her people treated as second-class citizens, and endured countless insults about humanity's weakness. Today, all of that ended. Navigation set course for Centauri. Maximum combat speed, yes ma'am. Engaging dimensional drive. The Busan Rising folded space around itself and vanished, crossing distances in minutes that would take conventional ships days to travel. Back on Earth, Admiral Park stood in her command center watching as decades of careful planning finally came to fruition. Around her, hundreds of officers coordinated the most complex military operation in galactic history. Admiral, we have contact reports from across the galaxy, reported Colonel Kim Ji-won. Our ships are revealing themselves at every major strategic position. Park nodded. Status of the cargo captain network? All confirmed. Every single one of our intelligence operatives has dropped their cover and revealed their true ships. The aliens are getting quite a surprise, indeed they were. Throughout the galaxy, Alien commanders watched in shock as simple human cargo vessels transformed before their eyes. What had appeared to be old, slow transports suddenly revealed themselves as sophisticated warships. Captain Yoon Minho smiled as his communications officer received increasingly frantic messages from nearby alien fleets. "Sir, the Kellyan refugee fleet is requesting information about our ship's true capabilities," reported Lieutenant Park Minseo. "Tell them the truth," Minho replied. "We're the TDF Soul Trader, a Typhoon-class heavy cruiser. We've been providing escort for their convoy for the past week. But, sir, we've been pretending to be a cargo ship, yes. But we've actually been protecting them from Devourer scouts. 3 separate probe ships tried to attack their convoy. They never saw us destroy them. The revelation spread through alien fleets like wildfire. Humans hadn't been helpless cargo haulers. They had been secret guardians, protecting alien ships without anyone knowing. In the Nexus system, the Galactic Council's emergency defense fleet prepared for what everyone assumed would be their final battle. Thousands of ships from dozens of worlds had gathered for a desperate last stand against the approaching Devourers. Then human ships began arriving. The first was Captain Huang Taejun's Dreadnought Incheon. Thunder? The massive vessel emerged from Dimensional phase space directly above the Council's flagship, dwarfing the alien command ship. "This is Captain Huang of the Terran Defense Fleet," came the calm announcement. "We're here to help." Similar scenes played out across the system as human dreadnoughts and cruisers took positions throughout the defensive formation. Alien crews stared in amazement at weapon systems they couldn't identify and technology that seemed almost magical. Admiral Shin Bongjun commanded the human fleet, Elements at Nexus. He had spent 40 years pretending to be a simple transport captain. Now he coordinated ships that made the galaxy's most advanced vessels look like toys. "Admiral," reported his tactical officer, "the Devourers are approaching. Estimated arrival in 6 hours. Very good. Signal all human units. Today we stop running and start fighting." On Earth, the transformation was even more dramatic. What had appeared to be a simple world with basic defenses suddenly revealed its true nature. Mountain ranges split open to reveal massive weapons emplacements. Ocean floors lifted to show naval yards where dozens of ships had been hidden. Dr. Kim Ji-won stood in the primary defense center, her hands moving across controls that had been disguised as geological monitoring equipment. "Planetary defense grid online," she reported. "All orbital platforms revealed and ready." "Excellent," Admiral Park replied. "How long until the main Devourer fleet reaches us?" 4 days, Admiral. They're moving faster than expected." Park studied the tactical display. The approaching enemy fleet was massive beyond comprehension, but she felt confident for the first time in decades. "Signal the fleet," she ordered. "All ships are weapons-free. Today we teach the galaxy what happens when you threaten Earth." Throughout human space, similar preparations were taking place. Colonies that had seemed defenseless revealed hidden fortifications. Asteroid mining stations transformed into weapons platforms. Trade routes became strategic corridors defended by ships that shouldn't exist. The galaxy's understanding of reality had been shattered in a single day. Earth wasn't weak. Earth wasn't defenseless. Earth had been pretending. As news of the revelation spread, alien commanders across the galaxy asked the same question. If humans had been hiding this much military power, what else had they been concealing? They would find out soon enough. The Devourers were coming, and humanity was done hiding. The war for the galaxy was about to begin, and the species everyone had underestimated was ready to show why they had been worth underestimating. In the depths of space, Devourer bioships detected the massive energy signatures suddenly appearing throughout their target galaxy. For the first time since beginning their invasion, they encountered something unexpected. The galaxy had grown teeth. Commander Yoon Minho's ship looked like every other human cargo vessel in the galaxy. Old metal plating, basic engines, and a design that screamed weakness to anyone who saw it. But appearances meant nothing when the ship's true nature was hidden beneath layers of quantum phase technology. "Sir, we're receiving distress signals from the Kellyan border," reported his communications officer. Lieutenant Park Minho frowned as he read the incoming messages. Multiple ships requesting emergency assistance. They're saying something about refugees. What they found at the border changed everything. Hundreds of alien ships filled the space around the system's edge. But these weren't invasion fleets. They were families running for their lives. The Kellian Syndicate, known throughout the galaxy for their superior technology and cold efficiency, had become refugees overnight. Their ships were damaged, overpacked with civilians, and broadcasting desperate pleas for help. "This is Commander Yoon of the transport vessel Soul Trader," Minho announced over open channels. "What happened here?" A Kellian voice responded, filled with fear that Minho had never heard from their species before. "The Devourers came. They consumed everything. 3 entire star systems are just gone." Minho exchanged glances with his crew. The objects their deep space sensors had detected weren't just ships. They were something worse. "Can you describe these Devourers?" Minho asked. "Massive bioships. They eat planets, stars, everything. Our most advanced weapons barely scratch them. They came from outside the galaxy and they're heading toward the core worlds." As Minho's ship moved among the refugees, his hidden sensors recorded everything. The Kellian ships that had once seemed so advanced now looked primitive compared to what his crew secretly knew human technology could achieve. Chief Engineer Nam Yunji worked deep in the ship's hidden weapons bay. To anyone scanning the vessel, this section would appear to be simple cargo storage. In reality, it housed some of the most advanced weapons ever created. "The new plasma fusion torpedoes are ready for testing," she reported to Minho over secure channels. "But we'll need to find a way to test them without revealing our capabilities." "Keep working on it," Minho replied. "I have a feeling we'll need every advantage we can get." Back on Earth, General Oh Sung-ho stood in the war room deep beneath the Himalayan mountains. The facility had been built over 30 years ago, disguised as a geological research station. Now it served as the coordination center for humanity's secret military operations. "General, we're receiving reports from our people throughout the galaxy," reported Colonel Bang Yujin. "The alien powers are completely unprepared for this threat." Oh studied the tactical displays. "What about their military capabilities?" "Captain Song Kyung-min has embedded himself with the Kellian refugee fleet. His preliminary report is disturbing, sir. Their technology is centuries behind what we've developed. What the galaxy considers advanced is actually quite primitive." Oh nodded grimly. "And the other powers?" "The Vorthak are responding with typical aggression, sending their war fleets to engage the Devourers directly. The Ashanti Collective is retreating to their core worlds. Neither strategy will work against an enemy that can consume entire star systems." In the Kellian refugee fleet, Captain Song Kyung-min maintained his cover as a simple human trader while gathering intelligence. The Kellian engineers he worked alongside had no idea that the quiet human helping them repair their ships understood their technology better than they did. "Your fusion reactors are very efficient," Song commented to a Kellian engineer named Vexahai. "Of course they are," Vexahai replied with typical Kellian pride. "Our technology is the most advanced in the galaxy. We achieve nearly 40% efficiency in our energy conversion." Song nodded and smiled while thinking about the human reactors that achieved 96% efficiency. "Very impressive." As he worked, Song secretly scanned their computers and weapon systems. Everything he learned confirmed what human intelligence had suspected. The galaxy's most advanced civilization was using technology that humans had surpassed decades ago. The first Devourer probe ships appeared near the galactic rim 3 days later. The Vorthak response was immediate and brutal. War leader Thexus personally led a fleet of 200 warships to intercept the alien scouts. The battle lasted 11 minutes. When the probe ships finished, there was nothing left of the Vorthak fleet except scattered debris and emergency beacon signals. The probes themselves seemed completely undamaged. Admiral Park Subin watched the recordings in her hidden command center. Analysis. Dr. Kim Ji-won pulled up the technical readouts. The Devourer ships appear to be living creatures rather than mechanical constructs. Their armor regenerates damage and their weapons are some form of biological plasma projection. Conventional weapons effectiveness? The Vorthak plasma cannons had almost no effect. The alien ships absorbed the energy and used it to power their own systems. Park studied the data carefully. "What about our weapons?" "Unknown, Admiral. But our plasma fusion hybrid systems operate on completely different principles. We might have better success." "Might isn't good enough," Park replied. "I want testing scenarios prepared immediately." Across the galaxy, panic began to spread as news of the Vorthak defeat reached the major worlds. The Galactic Council called emergency sessions as reports came in of more star systems going dark. Ambassador Choi Hyunwoo stood before the panicked council representatives. Around him, the most powerful beings in the galaxy argued and shouted as their carefully ordered universe collapsed. "The Ashanti defensive grid is failing," announced their representative. "We request immediate military assistance from all member worlds." "What assistance?" demanded the surviving Vorthak delegate. "Our fleet is destroyed. The Kellyan are refugees. What military force remains?" All eyes turned to the smaller member worlds, including Earth's delegation. Choi stepped forward with his practiced nervous expression. "Earth stands ready to contribute whatever we can to the common defense," he said. "Our cargo ships could assist with evacuations and supply runs." The Kellyan delegate looked at him with something close to pity. "What else can your people offer? Any military vessels at all?" "I'm afraid not," Choi replied. "As you know, Earth's technology is quite limited. We have some old patrol boats designed for asteroid mining, but nothing that could face this threat." The council barely acknowledged his offer as they continued their desperate planning. None of them noticed the small recording device Choi carried, or the fact that every word of their defense plans was being transmitted to Earth in real time. General O received the intelligence within hours. "They're planning to make their final stand at the Nexus system," he reported to Admiral Park. "Every remaining ship from every member world." "Numbers?" Park asked. "Approximately 8,000 vessels of various types, against an enemy that destroyed 200 Vorthak warships without taking damage." Park was quiet for a long moment. "Begin Phase 1 deployment. All our people in the field should start moving toward strategic positions." "Admiral," Dr. Kim interrupted, "we're detecting massive energy signatures from the galaxy's edge. The main Devourer fleet is arriving." The display showed readings that defied comprehension. Hundreds of bioships, each one larger than anything the galaxy had ever produced. They moved in perfect formation toward the galactic core, consuming everything in their path. "Time until they reach the major population centers?" Park asked. 6 weeks, Admiral. Maybe less." Park nodded and activated the communication system that connected her to every human operative in the galaxy. "All stations, this is Admiral Park. The time for hiding is almost over. Prepare for revelation protocols." Across space, human cargo captains received the message and began making subtle course corrections. What the galaxy thought were simple trade routes became strategic military positioning. The Devourers had shown the galaxy's weakness. Soon they would discover humanity's strength. But first, the galaxy needed to understand just how desperate their situation really was. On the edge of known space, automated sensors detected something that made Dr. Kim's blood run cold. Behind the main Devourer fleet, hidden in the darkness between galaxies, were ships that dwarfed even the Bio-Titans. The Scouts weren't the main invasion force. They weren't even the first wave, they were just the beginning. Captain Lee Do-hyun watched the alien ships approach his cargo vessel with practiced calm. The Vorthak raiders moved like hungry wolves, their dark ships cutting through space toward his humble transport. To them, he was just another weak human carrying supplies between planets. "Captain, they're demanding we stop and prepare for boarding," his communications officer reported. The young woman's voice stayed steady, but Do-hyun could see her hands shaking slightly. "Of course they are," Do-hyun said quietly. "Send the standard message. Tell them we're just a simple cargo ship from Earth." The Vorthak ship surrounded his vessel easily. Their technology was older than what humans secretly possessed, but it was still impressive to most of the galaxy. The aliens had ruled through fear and superior weapons for centuries. They saw humans as nothing more than useful workers. When the Vorthak boarding party arrived, their leader was a tall creature with gray skin and sharp teeth. He looked around Do-hyun's simple bridge and laughed. "Another pathetic human ship," the alien said in broken universal language. "Your species is so weak. How did you even reach the stars?" Do-hyun smiled politely and kept his hands visible. "We're just trying to make an honest living, sir. We have food supplies and basic materials. Nothing valuable." The Vorthak captain struck him across the face. "Silence. We take what we want. Your Earth government is too weak to stop us." As the alien searched his ship, Do-hyun quietly activated a hidden recording device. Every word, every detail about their ships and weapons was being stored. The Vorthak found nothing unusual because there was nothing unusual to find. His cargo hold contained exactly what he said it did. After they left with half his supplies, Do-hyun's crew gathered on the bridge. They all looked angry and frustrated. How long do we have to keep doing this? Asked his engineer, a young man named Han Minjae. As long as it takes, Do-hyun replied. Remember why we're here. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out daily. Human ships were robbed, insulted, and dismissed by alien powers. The galaxy had learned to see Earth as weak and harmless. On the galactic capital world of Nexus Prime, Ambassador Choi Hyunwoo stood before the Galactic Council. The massive chamber held representatives from hundreds of worlds. The most powerful seats belonged to the Vorthak Empire, the Kellian Syndicate, and the ancient Ashanti Collective. Honored council members, Choi began in his carefully practiced nervous voice. Earth once again requests protection for our trading routes. The attacks on our civilian vessels continue to increase. The Vorthak representative, a massive creature called War Leader Thexus, laughed loudly. Perhaps if your species learned to defend themselves instead of cowering, you would not need our protection. We are a peaceful people, Choi replied, letting his voice shake slightly. We have no military technology to speak of. Our ships are simple transports designed for trade. The Kellian delegate, a tall being with blue skin and large eyes, looked at his datapad. Earth's military capabilities are indeed limited. Their weapons are centuries behind galactic standard. Perhaps we should reduce their defense allocation again. Agreed, said the Ashanti representative, an ancient being that spoke through a translation device. Resources are better spent protecting more advanced civilizations. Choi bowed deeply. We understand, honored ones. Earth is grateful for any protection you can provide. As the council voted to cut Earth's already tiny military budget, Choi secretly recorded every word. Back on Earth, Admiral Park Subin would find this information very useful. Hidden deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Park stood in a command center that officially did not exist. Around her, dozens of officers worked at stations monitoring activities across the galaxy. The chamber was carved from the ocean floor itself, invisible to any scanning technology the galaxy possessed. Admiral, we have new intelligence from Captain Lee Do-hyun, reported Lieutenant Colonel Kim Ji-won. The Vorthak are moving their main fleet toward the Centauri sector. Excellent, Park replied. Mark their positions. How many of our people are in that area? 12 cargo captains, all maintaining cover, Kim answered. They'll be able to track the fleet movements without suspicion. Park nodded and moved to another station where a holographic map showed the entire galaxy. Hundreds of small lights marked the positions of human cargo ships. Each one was actually a sophisticated intelligence-gathering vessel, mapping alien military positions and capabilities. Status report on Project Silence? Park asked. Dr. Kim Ji-won looked up from her workstation. The brilliant scientist had spent years developing technology that would change everything. The quantum phase stealth system is ready for full deployment, Admiral. Our ships can now exist in dimensional pockets completely invisible to all known sensor types. And the weapons testing? Chief Engineer Nam Yoonji reports that our plasma fusion hybrid systems are performing beyond expectations. Our firepower exceeds anything in the galactic database by at least 300%. Park smiled grimly. For 50 years, humanity had been building in secret. While the galaxy saw them as weak traders and workers, humans had been developing technology that surpassed everything the known species possessed. Ma'am, called another officer, Ambassador Choi is requesting secure communication. The holographic image of Ambassador Choi appeared in the center of the room. He looked tired but satisfied. The Council has voted to reduce our defenses again, he reported. They truly believe we're helpless. The Kellian delegate actually suggested that Earth might be better served as a protected colony, rather than an independent member. Perfect, Park replied. The weaker they think we are, the safer our real preparations become. Any word on the deep space sensors? Yes, Admiral. The sensors we secretly placed at the galaxy's edge are detecting something disturbing. Large objects moving in formation toward our galaxy. They're still months away, but the readings are unlike anything in our databases. Park's expression grew serious. Extragalactic? Possibly. The signals suggest massive bioships, not mechanical vessels. Whatever they are, they're heading straight for the galactic core. Around the command center, officers exchanged worried glances. Humanity had spent decades preparing for conflicts with known galactic powers. But something from outside the galaxy was a different threat entirely. Continue monitoring, Park ordered, and increase our intelligence gathering. If something is coming, we need to know everything about it before it arrives. As the communication ended, Park looked at the galactic map again. Humanity had been playing the role of weak, harmless traders for 50 years. Their ships moved freely throughout alien space because no one saw them as a threat. Human workers served on alien stations and worlds, always listening, always learning. The galaxy believed Earth was defenseless. That belief had become humanity's greatest weapon. Soon it might become their greatest advantage in a war no one saw coming. In the depths of space, automated sensors continued their silent watch. The approaching objects were still too distant to analyze clearly, but they were definitely getting closer. Whatever was coming, it was vast, alien, and unlike anything the galaxy had ever faced. Humanity would be ready.